Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone. A big warm welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where we provide world-class education, inspiration, hope, and a few laughs here and there. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and our show is The Listening Mentor. We are going to be discussing with our world-renowned expert, Caroline Heward, the impact of hidden agendas. What is a hidden agenda? We're going to find out. Caroline is joining us from London, and she is known as the Harley Street stress expert. She helps people bust their stress. Let's welcome her to the program. Hello.
Woo! Hello.
2 days in a row. Woo.
Absolutely. We have an interesting topic tonight, Dr. Jacalyn.
Yes, it absolutely is. And most people, I would imagine, know what an agenda is. You go to a meeting or before you're going to go on a trip, you have an agenda and you understand what it is you're supposed to be doing, what to expect. But today we're going to be talking about not only hidden agendas, but the impact of hidden agendas. Before we get into the topic, I would love for you to share with our audience. You've been helping people for decades all over the world. You have an incredible amount of experience. You're a certified therapist, and you are leading the world with your heart. Tell us more.
Thank you, Dr. Jacalyn. What a lovely introduction. I'll have to remember to have such a good introduction for you too when I have to introduce you one day. Yes, I've been helping people for over 2 decades, since 2000. And I've been helping people break through the patterns that create their stress, literally busting their stress. And I use root cause therapy and chakra psychology, amongst many other modalities of which I've trained in over the many years. And I help people identify what's causing the symptoms. So if you have toothache, for instance, if you have back pain, if you have shoulder pain, neck pain, there will be a root cause issue using chakra psychology that I will identify what's causing the problems, what it is that you're not emotionally releasing. And I do it through a very, very simple process to help you break through the patterns, because what happens is we get focused on the symptom and we don't deal with the emotions and feelings that we're not handling because we push them down. And what I do is I break through those behavioral patterns, whether it be physical, emotional, mental, behavioral, or whether it be a bereavement, emotional such as anger, mental such as anxiety, stress, depression, and also if you're having relationship issues, behavioral intimacy issues. And I offer a free consultation for 30 minutes. And right now I'm offering an introductory hour for a really, really silly special price of £49, which includes a 15-minute free consultation too.
And obviously you could be charging a lot higher rate for your expertise, and you are doing it, I imagine, because you really want to help other people. So please do take advantage of this amazing offer. Caroline, when it comes to an agenda, what comes up for you, not as a therapist, but just as a human? I say to you, what's your agenda for today?
Well, I've sat on many boards, non-exec and exec. I've sat in many rooms where there's been an agenda that is in front of me. An agenda is usually a list of items or things that you're going to be looking at for that meeting. And so when somebody says, what's on your agenda? usually if it's in a personal situation, it's deeming to relate to what's going on for you. What is it that you want to talk about? What is it that's the essence of this meeting? And so it's really the subject matter of the meeting, of the occasion, of the situation that you're having that meeting, whether it be in your personal life or in your business life.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And when we think of hidden agenda, something that comes to mind for me because it's happened, and I think I have done it myself over the years and I wasn't even aware of it. But once you become aware of it, someone reaches out to you. Oh, hi, Caroline. How are you doing? I've been thinking about you and I wanted to see what's new and if there's anything I can help you with. And you start talking, and then all of a sudden, zing, the conversation changes, and all of a sudden it's about what you can do for me, what I need from you. So you know what an agenda is. You just shared that. What comes up for you as a certified therapist as a hidden agenda?
Well, sometimes I think that they are wanting a catch up, and so then I breezily have that catch up. And then when I realize that it's something else, then I almost have to take a back step and allow what they do want to talk about it. And sometimes that takes more time. I wished, to be honest with you, they were a bit more direct and they just came out with it. When I needed somewhere to stay, when I was on my training course a few months ago, and it was the person that I normally stayed with was not able to accommodate me that particular month. And I reached out to a number of people, and I only had a short amount of time that afternoon. And I reached out, doing the obligatory, hi, how are you? I hope have you got time to speak right now? I'll cut to the chase. I really need a favor. Is it possible? And then went straight into it and said, I don't want to take any of your time because I'm quite limited in time. And at the same time, it would be lovely to catch up with you. So it'd be an opportunity to catch up if you're able to host me. So I kind of cut to the chase, but some people don't. And then you almost feel uncomfortable about the fact that they wanted something and they didn't just want to catch up. And at the same time, it depends how much time you have for that going around the houses before you actually got to the point.
I completely agree with you. And I really do appreciate when someone's very direct and they just come out with whatever it is that they need or they want instead of going over here and over there. It's if I have a conversation with you, hi, Caroline, I really want to know how you're doing, but I want to, in full disclosure, let you know that I need a favor. And the favor is this. So I'd love to talk about how you're doing, what you're doing, but I just want to let you know that I need your help on something.
Yeah, it's just, I think that's the American training in me that I prefer the direct approach, because then I don't get into the gray areas of having that friendly conversation when they really want something from me professionally. And it's much better for me when somebody is direct. Hey, I need your help. Could you help me with X, Y, and Z, rather than spending 20 minutes talking about anything. And I'm thinking they just want to catch up with me, but actually they want something. It almost makes me feel that cheated a little bit. I'd much prefer them just to be direct and to the point, and then I know where I am.
Yeah, exactly. I actually did that too yesterday. I said, hey, I'm going to give you a call. And I called you and I said, I really need your help with something. And so there it was. And also when you are direct, I don't know if it's just as Americans, but not all Americans are as direct as I am. Some people don't like it. They find it offensive. They want you to schmooze them over a little bit before you come in and ask for a favor or something. So what are your thoughts about that? Is it know your audience and then go accordingly, or is it stick to your intuition and what feels good in your body?
Well, that's a really, really topical question, because when I was in my corporate life, I actually spent a lot of PR and marketing. And there's a difference between PR and marketing. And the fact is that the whole industry is around schmoozing, and you had to be able to schmooze well. You had to be able to have a glass of wine or a glass of champagne in your hand to be able to eat, to be able to converse, and to be able to get everything down without writing it down, and to be able to deliver what the client wanted. So that was not so easy, and you had to have really good listening skills, and you had to have good interpersonal skills to be able to do that. And you also had to know what to eat and what not to eat, so that you could be in that conversation without looking silly with spaghetti dripping down your chin. So that's in terms of the schmoozing. I feel that it's much better to be professional in doing that schmoozing, because it's an expectation. And at the same time, from the background of PR and marketing, when you're writing in PR, it's always about the story. They want the human element and the story, and so it needs to be elongated. In marketing, they just want you straight to the point. They don't want all the fluffy, flowery words. They want everything to the point. And so when I was in marketing, I found that that was an aspect of the behavior in marketing. Just tell me what you're looking for. Whereas in PR, it was much more about the glass of wine, the glass of champagne, and the food, and then they'd finally get to the topic of what the business was all about. So I don't know whether that helps you in deciding how to respond, but it is about the environment that you're in and what the meeting and what it is that you're looking for.
Yeah, it's really true. And I remember when I was in business meetings, they were going to make a big announcement about where the trip is going to be for next year, the Achievers Club trip. And you have to wait through the whole dinner. You're like, oh, just tell me, because you almost want to know, and then you can celebrate it. But yet they're leading you up until, the end. And I found also going on sales calls that for me, it was important to get to the crux of the matter. How can we bring value to you, as opposed to a lot of pleasantries? Oh, I love the fish on the wall. Or is that your family? Do you have twins? I mean, yeah, I get it. But do you really care? Are you really going to be bonding? Are you going to dinner at their house? I don't know. Maybe at some point. But what's the reason why you're there? What is your true agenda? And I've also found that clients can have their own hidden agenda as well, that they take a meeting with you for a reason that you think is one thing, but yet they have a completely different reason.
Yeah, that's very true. It's challenging when you think it's one thing that they say, that behind it they're actually looking for something else. And how do you handle that? Well, I used to get invited out for a lot of, can I buy you a drink in the bar, or can I take you for coffee? Well, I didn't drink coffee, and I still don't. And so mine was a hot water. So they got a really cheap consultation for like an hour or two for a hot cup of water, or a glass of wine if it was in the evening. And I used to get very annoyed, because I thought that they liked me, but actually they wanted that therapy without actually paying for it. And I soon got wise to that, and I stopped going to meetings for a coffee, pseudo coffee or hot water for me, or a glass of wine, just said to them, look, I offer a free consultation, more than happy to do it over the phone, but I don't actually go out and meet people for a discussionary conversation, which ends up being a free therapy session for you.
Yeah, good for you. Good for you for just putting it out there, because I think that's another thing, especially I feel with women. We've discussed this before, empowering other women is knowing your value. And sometimes people can have a hidden agenda, and they just want to take advantage of what it is that you're offering. And they might come to you and say, well, instead of paying you this, I'd rather pay you that. But yet they'll pay someone who's a male what it is they're asking. So you have to be wise to these hidden agendas. And obviously, I would think as a certified therapist, you don't get played over very often.
Well, I used to, and it happens. I just have to be aware of boundaries, because the boundaries are important. I do want to help people that are in distress. I do genuinely want to serve people that don't have a way to handle the problems that they have. I also have to live too. I have to pay a mortgage. Well, I did have to pay a mortgage. I don't anymore. I have to pay my bills, the rising energy costs, and you have to make that bit work. So I feel that it's important to value. If I value what I do, then other people value it too. So again, it is about having good boundaries to give, to serve, but not to overly serve and underserve myself.
Good for you. I think that's amazing. I have many times people will ask me what my pricing schedule is, and then I'll tell them what it is. I'm very direct. And then they'll come back and say, well, I don't think I should have to pay anything. Okay, great, go somewhere else. Because, but instead of, going back and forth and saying, well, what do you feel like paying and how much could you pay? What do you afford? You just put it out there, and then not everyone's going to be a good fit. And I think that's another important thing about hidden agendas, is that you have to be able to have chemistry and respect and a kind of good flow with someone before you can get involved with them or to continue staying involved with them. And that sometimes can help alleviate hidden agendas because you have this honesty and transparency with one another.
I couldn't agree with you more. You've mentioned some words there that are really, really important to me. Honesty and integrity, and for me, a big one is authenticity. And I would consider that I have those qualities, and I genuinely prefer to work with people that are coming from that place of integrity and authenticity, because that's where I come from. And it's much easier because then you're not having to handle all the masks and demasking what they really want versus what they're asking for. And I'm always happy to help. And at the same time, I have to make sure that I serve and help myself first, because it's really easy to help someone because they're always struggling and they're always reaching out. But there has to be a perspective of what it is that you're allowing yourself to get into, because it's always about a relationship. We're in a relationship with everything and everyone. And if we're overly giving, then we're underselling and underserving ourselves. So it is important to get that balance right. And again, it relates down to boundaries and what the other person's agenda is and how it fits with you.
Yes, absolutely. And something I want to segue to is social media and hidden agendas there. And what I mean by that is you could be discussing a topic and you're looking to get engagement from people who are watching or listening. And instead, people start promoting themselves and their own thing. And so that actually has happened right now on our show, that someone has decided to post their own information about themselves. What does that mean without pinpointing this person or saying their name or what platform they're on? Why do people do that kind of thing?
Because they can, and they're cheeky, and they do. And it's something that is known, that goes on with people that think that it's okay. There's a social media etiquette, and the reason that they're doing it is because this platform will reach a certain audience, especially as it's live and it's on YouTube and on the other social media platforms such as LinkedIn and Facebook. And so they're kind of taking their chances and saying, so what? Why can't I? And they did it. So that's because they're cheeky enough to do it, because they might reach somebody they perhaps might not have reached for not making a comment on this show at this point on this platform.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Something comes to mind also on a completely different viewpoint of hidden agendas, but it just came up for me. There is a movie that has been out for a long time. I think it's called The Wedding Crashers. Have you seen this?
I haven't, no.
With Vince Vaughn. Anyway,
No.
I really enjoyed the movie, but it brings to mind, there's a certain scene, there's a wedding scene. If you've seen before, I don't even know if they still do this because I haven't been to a wedding in so long, but if there's anyone here for any reason that feels that these two should not be united today in matrimony, and at times I've never witnessed it, but somebody will get up and say something. And I've thought to myself, whether I've seen it in a movie or someone's described it, is that a hidden agenda? What is that about?
Yeah, well, if you watch the soap operas, they're full of that, sort of you can't marry him or you can't marry her because he's married to me. And there is something there that spoils the moment and the day and the life of that couple. And so to wait until that particular moment, they're making a statement, they're making it public. So they're not just making a statement privately and personally to whoever it is that they want to say that they cannot marry. It's that they want to make it very public. And it's the most humiliating thing that you could do at any time for anyone.
Definitely. Definitely. So those of you thinking of doing it, maybe have a second thought. Now, something I want to just talk about, I think this is kind of a public safety measure, just to share this, is elderly people. I saw it with my mother when she was still able to answer the phone, but answer the phone and someone calls, "Oh, Mrs. Kerbeck, I wanted to see how you're doing today." And, as we get older, sometimes we're lonely and we're happy for some interaction. And we think it's someone who really cares about us, or they care about our cable bill, or and they have a completely different agenda. And they take someone who's vulnerable and they take advantage of that person, confuse the person to get them to do something very manipulative. Is this the same type of hidden agenda when it's done maliciously, intentionally, as opposed to maybe you're not even aware of it, but you're just greedy and asking a lot of someone else?
Oh gosh, yeah, this is how the scams work in terms of the romance scams. There's a whole big industry, a scam industry around this, where they're in call centers and they're romancing people by sending them all sorts of very loving messages. But they're not only doing that to you, they're doing that to other people. And it's to get money from you. That's the only reason. It's the way that some people in different countries are living. And there is a program, a serial program identifying holiday scammers and people that are scamming people out of money to get them to come and see them, to fly over, but they have never any intention. And it's just a way of making money. I remember when I was a child, we knew who the burglar was, because the burglar, he was wearing a balaclava. He was all in black. He was wearing a balaclava, hiding his face, and he had a swag bag on his shoulder. Well, now the burglar, he comes into your home without needing to unpick the lock on your door, and he comes through your computer or your phone even, something that's very personal and private. So he can get in and take your identity, take your money, because it's a different way. We have evolved in technology in such a way that the criminal now can take money, can take things from you, your life savings, without you even realizing it. And they're usually preying on people that are elderly, lonely, or indeed that are looking for love. And so they do look at dating sites. I've had a couple of people, when I've posted, that have been upset about a bereavement, or I've posted something saying I really miss them. And then I've had people come in privately on a message on Facebook or on any other social media platform, and they've come in and they've started to say, "Hey, I'd really like, you seem like a really nice person, you've got really lovely eyes, I'd like to get to know you, I'd like to take away that sadness." And this is just a well-known thing that goes on.
Okay, so we've given some various examples of what hidden agendas are. Now, for the next half of our program, let's talk about what we can do to prepare ourselves, how we can be alert or intuitive or recognize it if we're not a certified therapist, if we're not interviewing thousands of people, but we're just going about our daily life and we don't really know what signs to look for because we're very trusting. We believe everyone.
Oh, trust. There's the big word, trust. We have to trust our own level of instinct. And I know this sounds like a cliche, but if it sounds too good to be true, it could possibly be too good to be true. And if the person is avoiding seeing you and always makes an excuse about not being able to make a meeting, or always finds an excuse to ask you for money, there has to be, some sense of sensibility that you would question it. And I know that they're very clever, especially the ones that are doing online scam romances. They're very, very clever in really hooking you in. And they're probably talking to you, chatting to you for months before they will ask you for anything. This is as soon as somebody asks you for money or asks you for your bank details and you don't know who they are, that's the warning sign. That's the warning bell to say, hey, hang on a minute. Say if they call and they say that you're their bank, that they are your bank. Never trust somebody that's asking you for those kind of details. I've actually been very cautious when I have had my bank call me, my business bank, and I just said, this sounds like a scam. I'm not going to give you detail. This is how the scammers work. And they just say, I really am. And I just say, well, I'm sorry, I'm not going to give you any details. And, you could have got that information from from company's house on my business profile. And so I'm very, very cautious. And that's the tip, to be cautious, to think before you act, and never part with your money to somebody that you've actually never met.
Absolutely, because these companies should already have your information. So I think that's a red flag right there. Now, something else, I believe you and I are both optimists. We see the world from a certain way, but my father was definitely a pessimist. And he would say, don't trust anyone until they prove themselves. So what about assuming everyone has a hidden agenda? Everyone you speak to has a hidden agenda, and then going from there, as opposed to everyone's trustworthy, everyone's authentic. Is that kind of a negative content loop, or spiraling down negatively if we are going with the pessimistic viewpoint, as opposed, and it could be realistic, even realistic instead of pessimistic or optimistic?
Well, if you're then believing that everybody has to earn your trust and they're generally coming from a place of a lack of authenticity or integrity, so they have that hidden agenda, then it's very life draining, because they're trying to work out what it is that they're looking for, rather than living and rather than experiencing life from that joyous space of your heart center. And because you're then questioning, and so you're living in your mind, and is that living, or is that surviving, or is that existing? And so there is a level of managing that distrust or mistrust, or thinking that somebody's going to con you. And I firmly believe, and it's not everybody's way, I firmly believe that we're all good naturally, and it's our experiences that turn us into being untrusting. And usually if somebody is untrustworthy, it's because there's an untrust within themselves. They don't trust themselves. And so then they work on the premises that they don't trust other people. And so I would suggest that you work on your own inner feelings of distrust and mistrust, so that you become more trusting of yourself and how you show up and how you experience life. And it isn't easy, because pot black, then you find that the kettle is black. And if your glass half full, then you generally find that people are generally positive and optimistic with you. There is pros and cons for both, and there is no right or wrong. It has to be right for you and your personality and what feels comfortable.
I agree with everything you're saying. I think they're great points. We always have to do work on ourselves before we start judging someone else. What I'm wondering is, if you are having a conversation with someone, personal or business, and they throw out a comment that is sort of like a red flag. So, for example, Friday has always been the 8th day of the week. You're thinking, I don't really know. So then you start to think, well, they just made that comment, which I don't know is actually 100%. I'm not sure that anything else they're telling me. So I might go and do some research and I might say, well, I always thought that Friday was the 5th day, the 6th day, depending which way you count of the week. But maybe I'm completely wrong. I'm going to do some research and then I find out it's not the 8th day of the week. So then I start to question everything that the person said to me. Now, if the person makes the comment and they say, oh my gosh, I don't know what I was thinking. That's so silly. That doesn't make sense. But if they're saying it with conviction to try to make a point, then I have to wonder. Not that I want to wonder. I don't want to spend any time deciphering everything somebody has to say. But if they throw out a comment that sort of doesn't feel right in your gut, what do you do then?
I just say, tell me more. I've not had
Oh.
that before. Please tell me more. I'd be interested to hear about your perspective on that. I'm very much a questioner. I do like to hear other people's perspectives. I do like to hear other people's analogies of things. And so I'm very open in that respect. And that makes me a good questioner because I want to learn. I'm very much one of life's students. And if somebody throws something at me that just doesn't appear like right in my world, then I say, well, tell me more. That's an interesting perspective. I'd like to know how you get to that. And so I'm inquisitive. And so I'm a little bit like sort of the doughy-eyed child, go, oh, really? Tell me more. How does that work out? How do you get to that? And so it invites them to give me the more information. And then I make my own decisions. And from that basis, because I've trained with many, many people and I've come across many different types of people in my time, in my training, in my work and through clients. And I would say that sometimes people will share something with you that will really resonate and you'll really hold it dear and you'll say, yeah, I really get that and I like that and I'm taking that idea on board. And then there's other things that they say that just doesn't make sense to you. And so one of my trainers actually said to me a long, long time ago, he said, you don't have to take everything that I say on board. Some things you will love and you will take with you for the rest of your life. And some things you'll just say, that doesn't resonate with me and I'm just going to leave them to the side. But it's always taken from the basis that people are giving you information from their knowledge, from their understanding, and from their perspective of their world. And your world might be different, and you might have some different understandings and associations with what they're talking about.
I love this approach that you're using. So you don't actually engage in any kind of confrontation, and it's not about arm wrestling back and forth about, yes, Friday is the 8th day of the week. It's not the 8th day of the week. It just doesn't even matter, does it?
Well, sometimes I'm human and I do. And for this person that's saying, sort of, this is how you should be, you have to do this, that, and the other. And I think, no, because I want to help the person and clearly they're having a challenge. And then you have to know where to draw your line and disengage. And
Yeah.
you have to, because if they're very steadfast and digging their heels in, that's the way life is, and you have to cope with life like that, and you have to act like this, that is definitely coming from their world and their state of being. And it doesn't resonate in mine. And if they're suffering, then I will want to give them a perspective, give them a point of view that changes the way that they are suffering. And if they're not willing to be open, because that's the therapist in me, then I have to kind of leave them, to be in that space of their understanding, because we're all looking at the world through our own filters of our own experiences and our own the people that are surrounding us, our peers, our family, our friends, our colleagues. And we'll all have very different perspectives in the way that we view the same thing.
Very true. And I know yesterday I spoke to you about a situation, and at the time somebody was telling me what it is I need to do. And I had the opportunity at the moment to tell them to go jump off a cliff, which I didn't do. And then following up yesterday, I also could have gone down a path. And then after speaking to you, I just thought to myself, there's no real value in this. I'm not going to take this person's suggestions, very strong suggestions. I'm just going to keep doing what it is I'm doing. But I did lose myself for a little period of time wondering, why did they say this? So I think they had a hidden agenda. I don't know what the hidden agenda was. You and I talked about it, but if I were to let that really eat away at me every single day, then I'd have to say to myself, well, what's going on with me that somebody can just give their opinion and I'm falling apart?
That's the bit when we respond, our reaction and our response is our own. So it'll be bringing up something inside of us that we need to handle. There might be sort of some inadequacies, some feelings of inadequacy, or some feelings of apprehension about what we're doing, or some feelings that we need a surety of what we're doing. But then that is our own to handle, our own feeling and experience to handle. But if the other person is saying some stuff that really just doesn't resonate with you, it's just like sort of, we call it water off a duck's back. They're saying something and it's like sort of, well, what are you talking about? That's definitely not my stuff. That's yours. I'm not going to own that, and I'm not going to take it on. When somebody's turning around and saying, I posted a post today about a narcissistic behavior, about when somebody's done a wrong to you, and then when they are trying to then make you the one that's the person that's offended them, and then they actually role reverse it and make everything your fault. And this is a narcissistic behavior, and the net result of that is, you're never going to form a relationship with them, because even if they've done a wrong, they will always turn it around and make you the person that's done a wrong, so that they have control, and it's coming from ego. And it's a very narcissistic behavior. Gaslighting is much more of a common term for it. And there are many people that are like that feed off somebody feeling inferior to them. And so it's important to be in your own comfort zone and your own ability with what you're doing, rather than taking on someone else's stuff, because it really isn't yours to take on.
And that could be a full-time job, really, taking on someone else's stuff. And by the way, when someone does have a hidden agenda, it's almost like, I feel like they have the fishing rod and they're throwing it out and they're seeing if anything is going to, catch the bait. And then they slowly start to reel it in. It takes a lot of time out of your day to then go down that path with them that might end up going nowhere.
I don't have time to deal with that. That's really challenging for me. This is how you can actually help yourself so that you don't get into those situations, is to keep your vibration high, to remain in a state of comfort in your own integrity, in your own personality, in your own authenticity. And if you're feeling low, this is when people will catch you, because you're much more open and much more vulnerable. And so if you are having an off day, to take that space to be in your own company, to heal, to be, because we're all human. And then when you are interacting with people, to be coming from a place of your core strength rather than from a place of vulnerability, when your boundaries are much more exposed. And that's how people can get in. So it is about looking after yourself first, making sure that you're okay. There's a very old book called I'm Okay, You're Okay. And when you are okay, then everything else is much more okay. And if you're not okay, then this is where you get these experiences from, because your vibration is much lower and other people can come in and give you an experience that's not so great.
And do you find that there's any value? Some people like to debate. They love a good debate. And it's not that you have to be in a personal relationship with them, but when you get together with them, you know that they just want to take the opposite perspective. Is there any value in learning how to be a good debater?
I've had friendships like that, and I've had evenings like that, that whatever I think and feel, it's taken as the opposing wrong, and the other person wants to spar. I call those sparring evenings. And I've even had calls like that from potential clients that just want to, say that they're right and I'm wrong. And I've just said, I'm sorry, I'm not the right provider for you. And they've just said, I really like you because you're argumentative. And I just think, really? Perhaps I have a set of values that don't agree with yours, but the fact that I stand my ground. And it depends on, it takes a lot of energy to be in those sparring conversations and debating evenings. I call them tennis matches, where you'll say something, the other person will say something, and then you say something back, and it's very draining. And if you want to live your life like that, then you will be very exhausted at the end of the day. And I just feel that if you want to do that, then just be mindful of the fact that it will drain your energy. And is that a friendship that you actually want to be in or not?
Right. Is there an actual future in that, or are you going to have to go to therapy and see Caroline for that?
I did actually drop somebody that liked to spar with me, liked to ask all the questions. And one of the things he would say is, are you happy? And I say, yes. So what's happiness then? And then he'd like sort of go off on a tangent and, well, tell me, nobody's happy really. And he'd really get into like sort of some deep, meaningful, questions, saying, well, so what do you do then that makes you happy? And why do you do this meditation? And don't you think it's just all a load of rubbish? And don't you have all the answers anyway? Why are you having to? And I'm kind of going, well, I feel like saying, if your life is your life and you're happy, then leave me to do what I do because it makes me happy. But, some people like to spar because it gives them something. It gives them an energy, and it takes away something from you, but it makes them feel more energized.
Yes, it's so true. And I know we're coming to the end of our show. Just one more topic, which is I definitely have known people who will act like they care, and they'll start needling. Well, you don't sound super happy today. What's going on? No, everything is good. No, it doesn't sound like everything's good. I can tell. So finally, you just give them something, and then they don't care anyway. Oh yeah, well, that's typical. That's what normally happens. Like, oh, okay, what is your agenda? Like, why are you trying to break me down, but you're not there to support me? It's like you want to diffuse the situation, and I tell you what the situation is, but then you don't want to deal with it anyway. What is that called?
Well, that's another form of taking your energy, that the person is sort of, in inverted commas, getting off on making you feel vulnerable. So they're then stealing your energy. And like you said, they don't really want to know. Sometimes when somebody drops a message saying, are you okay, or how are you, I'm always sort of very careful about how do I respond to this. And I check in, well, how do I respond to this? Because the English ism is to say I'm fine. And, that's really not good. It's not a good response to say. And so if you say I'm great, or things are going well for me, because I'm not really sure where they're coming from. It might just be like, when somebody says hello, they're really just looking for a hello back and nothing more. But when somebody's really delving into what's going on for you, and, you don't look okay and what's wrong, it sometimes is about taking energy and what I would call the one-upmanship game, that they're feeling much more energized from the fact that you're not feeling as great as what they are once they've finished with you.
Yeah, and it's interesting when you think about energy. Sometimes a person has a positive energy, you're in a good place, and then after you finish with someone, you're like, oh, I'm so exhausted. They've taken all your energy. Or the opposite way, you end up, because you literally blithered every drooling, pathetic thing that's coming out of your mouth onto someone else, and they can't even take anymore. You're like, well, I feel great now. Thanks so much for listening. I have to go.
I've had that before now, and I'm thinking, phew, I'm glad that's over with. I don't do it so often these days, but then I'm not going out as much as I used to. But these kinds of behaviors can happen at a business event, a networking event. It can happen in a business conference, networking conference. It can happen, when you're in a family party situation where somebody's, sort of the glass half empty, and then there's somebody glass half full. So it can happen in various situations, whether they be personal, business, or indeed within family and in your relationship. And it's about you holding your boundary and making sure that if the person is, very, very needy and very victim-like, that you're open to listen without giving them your energy. That's the key, is your energy is your energy. And if you listen with compassion, they actually gain a level of energy without taking yours.
It's very true. It's very true. And it reminds me of another hidden agenda, which has actually happened to me a few times recently without going through specifics. But an example, hey, Jacalyn, how are you doing? Yeah, I'm doing really well. Really? You are doing well? I don't see how you could be doing well. I mean, you lost your mother, you're by yourself. You get out at all? Yeah, I get out. I'm teaching some classes. You seeing anyone? No, I'm not really seeing anyone. How happy could you be then? Well, what do you mean? Well, you have to be with, I mean, you're by yourself. You really can't be that happy. No, I am happy. I don't think you really are. I don't think you've actually thought enough about it. It's like, what
Whoa.
are you like? Where is this going?
I just wouldn't give them the time of day. That is definitely their stuff, not yours.
I need to have like a checklist. Like, I'll just messenger, this is the topic, and you can go click, disconnect.
But it's their stuff. Again, this is not yours. They're judging you against their own standards, and they're saying you have to be happy. In order to be happy, you have to be with someone. You have to be in this situation and in this type of work. So they're actually judging your happiness based on their own understanding and experience and expectation, rather than allowing you to be happy in your own space, being you.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. And I think once your eyes are open to what the game is and about the hidden agenda, you see the person in a different light. And I'm not saying you feel sorry for them, but you get it. They're on a different page than you are, and they're really trying to find something out for their own benefit.
That's so true, because that is the nugget. That is the golden nugget in that conversation, what you've just shared, because they're looking for, why are you happy? Why are you okay? Because I've got all those things and you haven't, and yet you seem happier than that person. And so that is exactly it. That's the hidden agenda. They're wanting to know what makes you happy when you haven't got all those things that they've got, and they're not happy. So they're finding out in their own little fishing experiment, okay, then, so why are you happy? Because you haven't got all those things and yet you're still happy. It's beautiful, isn't it?
Yes, they're on a fishing expedition. That's exactly what it is. And then when you call them out on it, they get very upset. What is your problem? I'm just calling to see how you're doing. Well, you're really not just calling to see how I'm doing. You want to know if I'm seeing someone. That's where this whole thing is going, because you've been seeing someone. Did you ever have that where people start asking you questions that basically have to do with themselves, and then they're putting it back on you because that's what they're doing?
Yeah.
You see it all the time.
That's when they want to find similarity. They want to, it's like a club, where if you're all going out with somebody, then there's like sort of this membership of this private club, and it's like sort of a lot of women that are pregnant or having children, there's like a club that you belong to all of a sudden. And so it's that, and then when you're in a couple, then you can go out for foursome dates and sixsome dates, and so everybody's in a couple, so you're not left out, on your own. And it's their insecurities, not yours.
Caroline, you have given so many great nuggets, diamond gems. How can people reach out to you? And is there a certain client that is really a good fit for you?
Thank you, Dr. Jacalyn. It's been an absolutely amazing show. As always, we always uncover all sorts of interesting things. And I feel it's important to say to our viewers that there is no script for this show. I have no idea what's going to be asked of me. So all these questions I'm not prepared for. It's very open. And this is how I am. And so if you have a problem, if there is something going on in a relationship that's not working for you, if there's something going on in your working situation or in a friendship, or indeed if you are struggling with an anxiety or a stress that's causing you some physical, emotional, mental problems, reach out. I offer a free 15-minute consultation, but why don't you take advantage of the hour introductory consultation at £49? You can reach me on No More Stress at live.co.uk, or call if you're a bit camera shy, +44 if you're international. If you're local, 07523 120 189. And I look forward to helping you break through and bust your stress and the repeating patterns that are causing your problems. You will be relieved because you will have an incredible night's sleep after your consultation. I look forward to helping you very soon.
Bust your stress. Bust your stress. Bust your stress.
I can hear that there's going to be a song shortly. I can really feel it.
We've got to get Dr. Chan on board to make it happen. So thank you for spending your Tuesday evening with us here at USA Global TV and Radio. I really appreciate it. And you will be back. By the way, this is the new time slot for the Listening Mentor for anyone who's not aware with that. But you will be back on Monday for A Woman's Prerogative, and then on Tuesday for the Listening Mentor.
Tuesday at the end of the month, I'll be back. So it's the first Tuesday and the last Tuesday of the month. I know it's a new time and a new day for our viewers.
Absolutely. So I'm still getting used to it myself. So.
Me too.
So, well, we will see you again. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And thank you to everybody on all the platforms. We really do appreciate you. Thank you to our team. And again, Caroline, thank you so much. This is unscripted. You have no idea what I'm going to ask you. I don't even know what I'm going to ask you. I just follow the flow of the conversation, and we make a great team. So thank you again.
Oh, bless you. It's always a pleasure. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.
Thanks, you too. Bye-bye. And thank you to our sponsors. Let's take a look.
Meet Lady Ella, a special ladybug who is trained by Grand Beetle on how to listen at an elevated level. After earning her gold wings, Mother Earth and Father Universe asked her to travel across the solar system, teaching life lessons to creatures to respect one another and to listen. Learn more about her travels in the book series, The Amazing Adventures of Lady Ella. The Amazing Adventures of Lady Ella, the Listening Mentor. Lady Ella's ABCs of Listening. Lady Ella has afternoon tea in London. The ocean calls and Lady Ella listens. Lady Ella listens in the Baobab National Game Park. Lady Ella's space adventure across the universe. The magical adventures of Lady Ella and her super-powered friends. There are also collections of colouring books for parents and kids. Providing world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Join our team of elevated listeners to teach children elevated listening skills. Lady Ella would like to teach you and your family how to listen at an elevated level. If you're interested in learning life lessons as well as how to communicate more effectively as a family, go to Amazon and order Lady Ella's books. They're all there just waiting for you.
This program has been brought to you in part by Zane Carson Carruth, etiquette and protocol expert, international award-winning author, television show host, and philanthropist. Thank you to Zane, our official diamond sponsor for USA Global TV and Radio in partnership with E360 TV. Zane is the author of The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever, as well as many other children's books. She's also the television host of Elegance, Polished Demeanor, and Posh Living, seen on USA Global TV and Radio.
Hi, my name is Zane Carson Carruth, and I'm the author of this book, The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever.
Reading is magic. Studies have shown that reading to your children lays the foundation for greater success in life. Reading helps develop language and vocabulary skills. It helps improve memory, and it encourages curiosity and inspires creativity. The benefits are immeasurable, and as a parent, you'll benefit too. In only 10 or 15 minutes a day, you'll be creating more memories and a bonding experience that will last for years to come. So take time to read to your children. Read them books about things that engage and interest them. Tales of fairies and magic fascinate children, and as everyone knows, the Tooth Fairy is at the top of the list. If your child loves magic, wands, adventure, and what child doesn't, you'll love reading them books from the trademarked series The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever. Follow along as Abella, the world's first tooth fairy, accidentally starts the tooth fairy tradition. Learn the tricks of being a professional tooth fairy in the book Abella Starts a Tooth Fairy School. Your child's imagination will soar as you read the adventures of Abella and her magic wand. These wonderful books are available at worldsfirsttoothfairy.com and at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Walmart.
To learn more about Zane, contact her through her website, zanecarruth.com. ZANECARRUTH.com. Order Zane's books and merchandise. Contact her about being a keynote speaker at your next event.